Hey everyone, welcome to another training video on our official channel of Cloud 360. In this video, we will discuss about read-only domain controllers in Active Directory domain services. My name is Navneet Kumar and I'm a Microsoft certified trainer. Let's get started. Well, the first thing first, what is an RODC? A read-only domain controller is a specialized type of domain controller that was introduced first in 2008 servers. It hosts a read-only copy of the Active Directory database and is designed for deployment in branch offices or remote locations where physical security and the network reliability may be limited. Unlike the traditional writable domain controllers, the RODCs do not allow direct modifications to the Active Directory database, which is a good solution for small branch offices where we have poor security or lack of IT staff. This read-only nature enhances the security by preventing the unauthorized changes and reducing the risk of data compromise. RODCs are particularly useful in scenarios where the deployment of a full domain controller is impractical due to the bandwidth constraints or, as I mentioned, lack of IT personnel. They provide essential services such as authentication and directory lookup while maintaining a secure and controlled environment. Well, in this diagram, you see we have the London HQ where we have writable domain controllers. Then we have a small office in New York. In this branch office, we have lack of IT staff or we have poor security there. So we do not want to deploy a writable domain controller, but we also want to localize the authentication server for marketing, sales, or users joining from the New York branch. For that, we can plan to deploy the read-only domain controllers in this new branch office. This can be your on-premises data center or it can be any cloud site that can be your Azure or any third-party cloud you are using. Let's dive into the core features of the read-only domain controller. The read-only domain controllers offer several key features that make them suitable for deployment in less secure or remote environments. The first one is they maintain a read-only Active Directory database. It ensures that the changes can't be made directly on the RODCs. Second is that they support unidirectional replication, which means that they can accept the replication from writable domain controllers but will prevent any potential corruption or spread on these RODCs directly. Third is RODCs utilize the credential caching, which allows them to store the selected user credentials for offline authentication, which means they need not to contact the writable domain controllers every time to check or validate the password of these users. These credentials should be for non-privileged users. This feature is governed by the password replication policies to ensure the security. Fourth is administrator role separation enables local administrators to manage the RODCs without having domain-wide privileges. This reduces the risk of misuse. And lastly, the filtered attributes set FAS that allows the sensitive attributes to be excluded from replication to the RODCs, further enhancing the data protection. Let's talk about the security and the deployment of the RODCs. RODCs provide the significant security advantages, especially in environments where the physical access to the servers can't be tightly controlled. Since RODCs do not share writable data and only cache selected credentials, the risk of sensitive information being compromised is greatly reduced by this. In the event of a physical breach, attackers can't alter the Active Directory database or access the critical credentials. Additionally, the unidirectional replication ensures that any unauthorized changes made on the RODCs do not propagate to other domain controllers. This containment strategy is crucial for maintaining the integrity of the Active Directory forests. RODCs also support the administrator role separations, allowing the local management without granting the domain wide access, which minimizes the potential for insider threats. Let's look at the deployment scenarios. RODCs are ideal for deployments in branch offices, remote sites, or the locations with limited IT staff and the infrastructure. These environments often lack the physical and network security requirements for traditional domain controllers. By deploying an RODC, organizations can provide essential Active Directory services like authentication and directory lookup without compromising the security. Let's talk about the installation and the best practices for the deployment. Installing and configuring an RODC involves several steps and prerequisites. Organizations must ensure that at least one writable domain controller is running and it is at least 2008 or later. And the forest functional level must be set to Windows 2003 or higher. The process begins by pre creating the RODC account on the writable domain controllers. Next, the target server is configured with the appropriate IP settings and promoted to an RODC using the Active Directory domain services. During promotion, administrators can define password replication policies and specify which credentials can be cached. Proper configuration ensures that the RODCs operate securely and efficiently within the domain. It is also important to monitor the replication status and ensure that the RODC is receiving updates from the writable domain controllers. Talking about the best practices to maximize the effectiveness and security of RODCs, organizations should follow several best practices like regular backup of domain controllers are essential to ensure the data recovery in case of failure. Credential caching should be limited to essential accounts only, and any privileged account should be restricted from being cached. Administrator role separation should be implemented to restrict the local management privileges. Monitoring RODC logs and replication status helps detect potential issues in early stages. Additionally, organizations should test restore processes frequently to ensure that the recovery procedures are effective. By adhering to these best practices, IT teams can maintain a secure and reliable Active Directory environment across distributed locations. Now let's talk about the limitations and the references. While the RODCs offer numerous benefits, they also come with certain limitations. They cannot be used to make changes to the Active Directory database, which may restrict their functionality in some scenarios. Applications that require write access to the directory data may not be compatible with RODCs. Additionally, RODCs are not suitable for environments that require full domain controller capabilities. Organizations must carefully evaluate their needs before deploying the RODCs to ensure that they align with the operational requirements. Understanding these limitations is crucial for making informed deployment decisions and avoiding the potential issues. Now let's dive in to the demonstration where we will deploy a read-only domain controller in a new site. I will use this server machine to deploy the read-only domain controller on this. This machine is already member of contuso.com and is named as London Server 1. And I will change this machine from the domain to the workgroup environment. As I mentioned earlier, that we have to pre-create or pre-stage the RODC account. So I'll move it to a workgroup environment. If you are doing the deployment in a new branch office, you do it from scratch. The machine is already in workgroup. This process can be eliminated. Well, I will restart this machine. Now let us see that how do we pre-stage the RODC account. If I take you to Active Directory users and computers to show you the available domain controllers for Contoso domain. We have these computer accounts. This was the London Server 1 machine. I will first delete this account from here. And as I mentioned earlier, that this process is just for the demonstration purpose I have used. If you are doing the deployment of RODC on a fresh or new machine, then it is not required. This is the only domain controller available in Contoso domain. Now I need to pre-stage an account. Before that, I create an Active Directory site for my new branch office. For this, I will switch to Active Directory sites and services. Will expand the sites. I have already the default first site, whereas I will create a new site and will name it accordingly. I will connect it using the default site link. Click OK. This is the new site deployed in this Contoso domain. Now I will pre-stage the RODC account by right-clicking on the domain controllers OU, where you see the option to pre-create RODC account. So I'll go with that so that I can show you all the options available. The first one is about the network credentials that will be used to pre-stage this account. I'll be using the Contoso administrator account, which is my enterprise admin or domain admin account in this environment. I will now choose the computer account name that I want to create. I kept it as London Server 1, but naming convention will be according to your requirement. So suppose if it is New York, so you can name it as NYCDC1 or NYCRODC1. It has found the DNS entry. I'm good with that. I can continue. I selected the site where I want to deploy this RODC. These are the options for DNS, global catalog, and read-only domain controller. This is for the password replication. The policy states that all the privileged accounts will not be replicated. Their passwords cannot be cached on the RODC. It is only the group that I have allowed RODC password replication that will be allowed. Any user or group, I can make a member of that group. Now I will select the delegated administrator in that New York site who can do this deployment of RODC. This is user Alberto I have selected. Now I will click next and complete this RODC pre-staging. You can review all the settings and finally click finish. You see London Server 1 account is there, but it is unoccupied DC account, and you see the account is disabled as of now because there is no such computer that is with this name available in this domain. I will switch to my RODC server and logged in as a local administrator on this machine since this has been moved to the work group. Next thing I will do is I'll go to the server manager and install the Active Directory domain services, which can also be done using the command line tools like DISM or the PowerShell commands. I show you this machine. This is the workgroup machine and the name of the machine is London Server 1. Now I will go to add roles and features either from manage or from the dashboard itself. Add roles and features. Next, role-based deployment on London Server 1, and this is Active Directory domain services. I will install these binaries on this machine. I have paused the video and resumed once the deployment of the role was done. Now I will click on this exclamation mark and will go to promote this server as domain controller in the existing domain. This is going to be another domain controller in the contoso.com domain, but not the writable one. It will be read-only domain controller. To provide the credentials, I will use the same credentials that was delegated user Alberto for this. As Alberto is a delegated administrator to deploy the RODC. So the options to select the DNS, global catalog, or RODCs are grayed out for this delegated admin. You can use an existing RODC account, and the site selection is also not available for this delegated admin. This is the DSRM password to restore or recover the Active Directory in case of any corruption. Then you can say next. This is replication from, so from which domain controller you want to do. We have the only domain controller on DC1 where from the database will be replicated. Then I will complete this window, all prerequisites completed, and click install. This will take some time. Again, I will pause the video and resume once the deployment is completed. Well, the deployment is completed and the system will restart. We can do the rest of the management from our writable domain controllers. If I do refresh, then this machine is now active as read-only domain controller and a global catalog for directory lookup. Then I have the password replication policies where there are the uh, two groups: allowed RODC password replication and denied RODC password replication. And apart from that, many privileged accounts being denied from replicating the password. This is the allowed RODC password replication group created automatically in this database. So two groups, allowed and denied, are created. I will create a new group to do the group nesting so that any user who will become the member of this new group I'm creating can be allowed to replicate or cache the password on RODCs. This is allowed RODC password replication for New York site. You can also directly add the users whose passwords you want to cache, but to reduce this administrative, you can say, complexity, you can have a dedicated group and then you take advantage of group nesting. This is the list of users I have selected from Benito till user Delia, and I will add these users to a group, the one that I created. This was allowed RODC password replication for New York site. These users become member of this group, and now I will make this group a member of allowed RODC password replications group. As you will look at this allowed RODC password replication group, there is no member of this group as of now. I can click add and provide the group over here. So with the help of this group nesting, all the users who are member of my newly created group will be allowed to cache their passwords. You can check this by going to the password replication policy, and you can go to advanced, where from you can see that what accounts passwords are stored here. Then you can also see that what accounts have authenticated to the RODC. It is the London server one only. You can pre-populate these passwords if you want. You can provide the account here. For an instance, Benito. You can check the name of this user account. So you can pre-populate these passwords on the RODC systems this way. Now the password has been pre-populated in advance before the user logs in that branch. The user account is cached. The password is cached for this user account in the local site. You can export this into a CSV if required. You can define the location, provide it a friendly name, and export this data. Finally, you can click close. This is the allowed RODC password replication group, which is allowed, and it's a domain, local, and security group. Members, this group that I created, the newly created group, is member of this. You can see the nesting. So that's the password replication policy. This is how we deploy the read-only domain controllers into a less secure or a site which has lack of IT staff to manage them. I hope this was informative to you. Thanks for watching, and do subscribe the channel if you have not subscribed yet.